What's up, Badger fans? Special edition going live really quick on Locked On Badgers because we added maybe the most statistically productive defensive lineman that Wisconsin has had in 10 years. We're going to talk about it. Plus, PJ Fleck keeps losing coaches. It's weird. All right, we're going to talk about all that and more in today's Locked On Badgers. Excited to get your comments. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a live impromptu pop-up Locked On Badgers, however you want to describe it. Going live because Wisconsin picked up a big-time defensive lineman today, but there's just so much to talk about that I can't always fit it into my regular shows. We interviewed Will McDonald today. That show is going to go up tomorrow. But in the process of doing that, I wasn't able to get to the new defensive backs coach. I wasn't able to get to this new impact transfer. I wanted to talk about Phil Longo's press conference, Tressel's press conference. There's so much stuff going on right now that I feel like occasionally we need these just pop-up shows to talk about it, hash it out, to get your comments. Rio C, what's up, man? What's up, guys? Yeah, this is 11 o'clock Eastern. I don't know who's up. But if you're here, welcome. If you're watching after the fact, welcome. Very, very excited to get all you in on this. And let's start with the big news, or what I think is the big news. There's a lot of big news. Darian Varner committed to Wisconsin out of the transfer portal. So if you've been listening to the show, or just if you're a Badger fan in general, right, there's been no real surprise that defensive line needs to be augmented. There needs to be a little bit more depth added at that spot. We've talked about it a lot. Keanu Benton's leaving. And really the only front seven pass rusher that had a big-time impact last year, Nick Herbig, is also leaving for the draft. He's not a defensive lineman, but he's still a guy who impacts the passing game, who hits the quarterback. Well, the Badgers went out and they picked up Darian Varner, former Temple defensive lineman. He had committed to Virginia Tech in the portal. So he left Temple last year, went to the portal, committed to Va Tech, because this is a pretty big-time dude. 7.5 sacks last year. Was an all AAC performer, one of the best defensive linemen in that conference, had 3.5 sacks in one game, 6'2", 260, yoked up guy, athletic. So Virginia Tech thought they nabbed him. They thought they nabbed a potential impact defensive lineman. And Wisconsin, Luke Fickell came in. It's those Fickell fingerprints, man. He came in and he yanked him away from Virginia Tech and brought him into Wisconsin. And, Varner, sorry, I had to look at the name again. Darian Varner is a guy who, again, is 6'2", 260, 270 pounds. He is built and reminds me a little bit of Alec James, right? That kind of shorter, bigger framed athlete that we haven't had a lot on the defensive line. And if we're talking about Alec James, you have to go back to Alec James in 2017 to find a defensive lineman with more than 5 or 6 sacks, right? That's what this guy's bringing into the fold. Now, he did it at a lower level competition. He also had 3.5 sacks in one game. So it kind of begs some of the questions of what happened the rest of the year. Where was he at the rest of the games? But it's a big-time depth addition. It's a guy who can get after the quarterback. It's a guy who can impact the passing game, right? That's a really big deal, and that's something this team needed. Now, I like Rodis Johnson. I like James Thompson. I like Cade McDonald, Ben Barton. Jarvis is still on the defense line. I really think he was underrated from last year's cycle. But you needed to bring in somebody to provide more depth and more pass rushing ability. Especially, consider this. Wisconsin, one of the areas that we're changing that I don't think it's talked about a lot is we're going to play a lot faster. There's going to be more possessions in Wisconsin games, and there's going to be a pretty good chance that Wisconsin gets ahead of teams a little bit more with Phil Longo's offense, right? So what's that going to mean? It's going to mean shorter drives, right? Wisconsin's going to be more explosive, we would think, on offense. So that means the defense is going to be on the field more, right? If we're playing with the lead, that means the pass rushers are going to be on the field more. They're going to be pass rushing more. That exhausts a front seven, right? So you need depth at that spot, and bringing in Varner is a huge deal. It's a really big get. I don't think he's, a huge game wrecker. He's not Erasmus James you're bringing in here. He's not J.J. Watt. But if he can be Alec James, right, that's a big deal if you can get 5 or 6 sacks out of a defensive end. Let's keep coming up with some comments here. Weapon X242 says, great pickups. I agree. Brian Shady says they are on fire. Let's go, Brian. Thank you for supporting the show as always, by the way. You're on a lot of these. Ryan Basnick, do you chat Badgers hockey? I don't. Great first name, by the way, Ryan. Thank you for tuning into the show. I don't. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, and again, that's what I try to do, be with y'all on every episode I do, every show I do. I don't know the sport of hockey. I just don't, and I apologize for that. Maybe if there's a desire to have more hockey talk on here, I definitely hope the men's program turns it around. I know that's been a disappointment. I know the pedigree and the history for Wisconsin men's hockey is there. We can probably get somebody on the show to talk it better. It's just not something that I know. It's not something I follow, and frankly, I don't have a ton of people that ask for it. But Ryan, man, if you think we could use some coverage of it, let me know. Send me a DM. We'll get after it. Gorilla Connor says, big Fick energy. Yes, let's go. Rio C, Ficked it again. Benson Smooth 24 says, I know we're getting spoiled, but CJ Williams is another guy I won in the portal. I tweeted, if he commits here, I'm wearing a dress to the OSU game. Let's go. Let's go, Benson. I love that energy. So CJ Williams, for all those listening, is a USC guy. He was a 5-star receiver when he committed to USC. He didn't play a lot last year, or he didn't catch a lot of balls. I think he played in like 9 games, but he only caught 4 passes. Big-bodied guy, not super fast, but a really good physical receiver, skilled receiver, somebody that Wisconsin has been, at least there's smoke there. He has some type of connections to Wisconsin. It would be a big-time get. It would be the highest-rated receiver Wisconsin has probably ever landed. So certainly more to come on the transfer portal. I have no doubts there. Ryan Robbins says, love your shows, man. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Ryan. We got a lot of Ryans that listen to the show, by the way. I don't know if I'm like bringing that in. I'm just like speaking that into existence, but I appreciate it. Dean Storm says, this is so much fun. Keep it going and now get a receiver. Let's talk about that for a second. Let me know in the comments. Because Dean, I think this is a good place to talk about what do we need in the portal still? Because we probably have, I'd actually have to sit down and look. I haven't actually looked, but we probably have 7-ish spots left when you're looking at scholarship limits, right? We know there's still after Jamel Howard, the big defensive tackle in the 23 class. Maybe it's not even 7. I'm spitballing here, but we don't have, there's not unlimited scholarships, right? We just landed a defensive lineman. I think we could use another defensive lineman, to be honest. I think we could use a linebacker. I think we could use a tight end. I think we could use an interior offensive lineman. By the way, these are all spots the staff has been attached to. That's already 4. 1 receiver is at 5, and you're probably about done. So I think a receiver group is actually underrated. But let me know if you think we need an upgrade there or if we need to pivot to something else, because you don't have unlimited scholarships, right? I think the quarterbacks they picked up, the slot corner they picked up, big deals. This defensive lineman's a big deal. Where else do they need to prioritize those scholarship guys? And keep in mind, they might poach another 2023 high school recruit as well. So scholarships are starting to tighten up a little bit here. Just something to keep in mind. Brewers Forever says, Fickell is going places with this team. I'm so pumped for next year. Yeah, I'll be as excited going into next year as I can at least ever remember being for Badgers football, right? I know coming off that Orange Bowl with Hornibrook and, Wisconsin was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I was super stoked. I remember being incredibly hyped when Russell Wilson committed. I was beyond stoked, and that enthusiasm ended up being justified. But this will be the most excited I've been in a long, long, long time. Scott Siegel says, my first live show. Scott, my man, thank you. Really do appreciate it. Let's go back to Varner here really quick. Where does he fit in? Does he come in as an instant starter? I don't know. Again, I don't know if it really matters either. Somebody asked me that in a DM, is this guy coming in to be a starter? I don't know if it matters. If you're going to play in a faster tempo system, you're going to have more reps. You're going to have to rush the passer more. You just need a 2 deep along the defensive line. And that's where he's going to fit in. He's going to fit in with Rodas. He's going to fit in with Thompson, Mullins, Paez, Neal. And I think I would love to have another body in there, to be honest, if we want to really compete next year. But this is a really good start. This was needed. Adding another body on the defensive line was absolutely needed. So really stoked they went out and did that. By the way, he had 7.5 sacks last year. Anybody in the trivia, we'll just throw a trivia question up here, see if you know. What was the last Wisconsin defensive lineman with more than 7.5 sacks? We'll see if anybody can get that one. Hint, it's been a good minute. There were only 34 players in college football last year that had more than 7.5 sacks. So you're bringing in somebody who was very, very productive. All right, let's keep this going. Mike Witt said they still need a punter. Yeah, that's a good call. Although, listen, if they don't get a punter, Zach Bart's got it, by the way. It's J.J. Watt. If they don't get a punter in the cycle, it means that I think that they're probably confident with what they've seen with Gavin Meyer, which is fine, right? If they're not confident in him, I can guarantee you they would be sniping a punter from some JUCO school, some D2 school, some D3 school. You can find a solid punter somewhere if you don't believe in what you have on the roster. So just keep that in mind. If you see them go after nobody, it means they're internally confident with Gavin Meyer. So, I mean, whether or not that works out, we don't know. But I think that's where we'll see how they feel about the punter. All right, we're going to take a really quick break. I want to come back and talk a little PJ Fleck. It's so weird that people don't want to work for that guy, right? It's so strange. We're going to talk about the Flexter coming up next. But first, on today's show, it is brought to you by Built Bar. I talk about Built Bar a lot. I'm a dad. I've talked about it. I have 2 kids. My kids raid my candy jar, and they steal my Cliff Bars like they're getting away with something. But I actually know that those are healthy snacks. So it's not that big a deal. It's kind of a little dad win. Cliff Bars have incredible flavor, and it's something that, I've used a lot going to the gym, heading back from the gym, and tons of protein, not a lot of sugar, under 200 calories, real chocolate. Every bar they make is real chocolate, and it comes in bars, flavors like churro, coconut puffs, double chocolate, cookies and cream. And now you don't have to order from the website. You can go to your local pharmacy, Walmart. You can go to Sam's Club. You can get a box of Built Bars. Pick up the 4-bar box at Walmart or 13-bar box at Sam's Club. Trust me, you will thank me later. They taste like candy bars, but they're healthy. And listen, I'm trying to get I got to get a little more in shape. I was a little negligent on the eating veggies over the holidays, so I'm going to work on it. All right, let's keep this going. I want to continue taking your comments. I mean, this is just kind of a free form show with some talking points. So definitely want to get your comments in here. Let's keep it going. What else do we got? Sorry, here. Let's see. Brian Robbins said the staff has done more now than the old staff did in years. I would say this, so I made this point somewhere else. The old, if you look back at last year's transfer portal, Kamoi Latu was a big time get. I think Keontae Lewis was a good get. I liked them getting Jay Shaw right at corner, picking up a second team all Pac-12 guy. They did some things there that were nice, but it was almost like it always felt like a half-hearted measure, right? You needed a quarterback last year and they ignored it. Meanwhile, I'm not going to get into Phil Longo's press conference right now, but did you pick up, did y'all pick up what Phil Longo said? He said, we came in and we addressed, or we self-determined that the quarterback room, because there's some youth there, was the spot we need to address. So, that's what we targeted. And in 3 weeks, they got 4 dudes. Right, that's the level of urgency that this staff is operating with that the previous one, I think, did not operate with for whatever reason. Let's keep it going. Aaron Hubesh says this is crazy. Yeah, it's very different. Gorilla Connor says there's only 4 spots left. That's less than I had kind of internally figured. No, I'll trust you on that, man. I have not really looked into it. So if you only have 4 spots left, then if you're talking a tight end, an offensive lineman, receiver, maybe one more edge rusher, and you're set. But you're saving a spot for Jamel Howard too. So, like I said, spots are getting tight now. So you have to be judicious in how you met that out. Mike Witt says really happy with the signing. 100% agree, Mike. Thank you for supporting the show. Zach Bartz, Varner signing reminds me a lot of when Penn State nabbed I can never pronounce his last name a year or 2 ago. But he was a big time addition for that defense. Great athlete. Yeah, I agree. Let's keep it going here. Before we get any more comments, let's get into my second talking point here. So I haven't even had a chance to really talk about Wisconsin hired the Minnesota Gophers co-defensive coordinator, cornerbacks coach, Paul Haynes. Paul Haynes is an experienced dude, 53 years old, played the position, was actually head coach at Kent State for a while, was a defensive coordinator for Arkansas. Really experienced guy, brings a lot of experience into this. But the interesting thing is he's flex guy. Right. And Fickell went in and took him. And listen, he's not coming here as a co-defensive coordinator. If you're just looking at titles, he's going from co-defensive coordinator, cornerbacks coach at Minnesota to just cornerbacks coach at Wisconsin. I mean, we clown on Fleck a little bit. They are fleeing that sinking ship over there right now. He's going to be losing his offensive coordinator to Rutgers. He lost his defensive line coach. He lost his cornerbacks coach to Wisconsin. And it's just kind of funny after he made his self kind of aggrandizing comment about, Wisconsin tried to negative recruit us and we axed it. Luke Fickell just came in and was like, I'll take your cornerbacks coach. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think, listen, at the end of the day, one of the things I wrote down a little note on my notepad when this happened, and I said, talent attracts talent. And a lot of times in recruiting, we just talk about quarterbacks, right? A great quarterback attracts receivers. A great defensive coordinator attracts great linebackers or whatever it is. But a head coach, a great young head coach attracts great coaches, right? And you're seeing a coach like Paul Haynes, the Minnesota guy, basically taking a demotion in title to work with Luke Fickell, right? And to work at Wisconsin. And you saw the same thing with Phil Longo, not a demotion in title, but Phil Longo specifically said, I want to work with Luke Fickell. And I said, if I ever have a chance to do it again, I'm going to take that chance, right? And obviously it helps that it's at Wisconsin. But just remember, talent attracts talent. And in Luke Fickell, we have a star head coach now, right? And you're seeing other coaching talents be drawn to that. It's all an ecosystem. And Luke Fickell's at the center of it. And he is absolutely crushing it. And people want to be part of that ecosystem. So it's just interesting to me to follow that line. And meanwhile, you see the ecosystem in Minnesota and people are like jumping out of that sucker. So I'm not trying to dance. Yeah, I was going to say I'm not trying to dance on Fleck's grave, but I guess I am a little bit. It doesn't make me sad. Let's keep going here. Preston Brosner said, this comment is a bit off topic. That's fine. We're chopping it all up today, Preston. Thanks for jumping in. But I watched an interview with Longo and Tressel, and from their tones and the way they talked about Fickell, I'm 100% sold he can take us to a natty. I think that's the ceiling, right? And we've said that on this show. If Cincinnati can get to a 14 playoff, not Cincinnati, if TCU can play for a national title, then Wisconsin's ceiling is that as well. Now, it's hard to get there, right? It takes a lot of things coming together. It takes a lot of luck. It takes luck from the injury gods and the scheduling gods and the weather gods and whatever. But that's Wisconsin's ceiling. And it's about time they lean into that and say it. It's okay to say that. For so long, Wisconsin felt like talking about a national title was like talking about Voldemort, right? Like, we will not mention that. We're going to win the Big Ten. It's okay to mention lofty aspirations and goals. That's all right. Doesn't mean you have to do it, but absolutely Wisconsin's ceiling is that. I agree, Preston. Let's see. Mike Witt says, if Harbaugh leaves Michigan, maybe we can get Howard back in the fold. I mean, I think we're still – I don't even know if we need Harbaugh to leave Michigan to get Jamel Howard. I don't know. We'll see. It's a battle. And even if Harbaugh leaves Michigan, we saw with Notre Dame, Brian Kelly left, and it actually hurt us because the guy they brought in related better to Billy Stroud. So Michigan is going to have cachet no matter who's there. I think we're in a pretty good spot for Howard regardless, and we'll see how that one winds up. Rio C says Ryan is the man. That is not true, but Rio, I appreciate it. I'm just going down, by the way, in order, so I'm not trying to cherry pick compliments. Let's see here. Mike Witt, love these shows. Yeah, I want to do more live stuff. I think every Friday, as long as there's news popping, and we might just do a freeform Friday, and I'll put the call-in invite back out. I haven't put that out for a while, but it's cool when people can call in and jump on the show and answer some questions with me. So maybe we'll do that every Friday. We'll do like freeform Friday. Definitely something that I'm interested in. Let's keep going here. Smo says, I'm not Ryan, but let's go. I love it, man. Rio C says needs at receiver and defensive line. Yeah, I think if there's, again, only a few spots, it's receiver, defensive line. I think they need a tight end, right? The tight end spot has been so decimated at injury. And quite frankly, even when everybody's healthy, let's put on our optimistic doctor hats and say everybody's healthy. Even when everybody's healthy, which tight end do we project as like a dominant guy? Like, I like Clay Cundiff a lot. When he committed, I didn't have a show then, so I can't go back and prove this, but I said, like, this, he's a better commitment than his star ranking indicates. He comes from like a little Kansas location. He wasn't overly recruited. I like him a lot, but he's not I don't know if he's a game breaker, right? And then behind him, you have a bunch of players who just aren't proven. So I think they need a tight end, but we'll see how they go. Rio C jumps in as well. Says, I like our receiver room. I think our receiver room's underrated. I really do. I think it's, by the way, if you're crackling behind me, it's my fireplace going. I do live in a cold weather environment. I think our receiver room is underrated. I think there's more there than we've seen in the field because they've been hampered by a poor offensive scheme and poor quarterback play, right? It's difficult to put a ton of that on them. Now, could we use a dominant number one alpha type? Yeah, we could. So could, like, every team outside of 7. But barring that, I think it's fine. And I think Tretch has a chance to come in and be an impact freshman. Let's keep going here. Man, there's way more comments than I expected. But let's see. Gorilla Connor says Luke Fickell has sunk the boat. Mike Witt says, I'm still thinking Amari Snowden starts to begin this year. I don't think he starts, Mike, but I think he has the upside to play. So the only thing is, if he's a corner and can show that he can be a legit corner, I think there's a real chance for early playing time. At safety, our safety spot is really deep, and I'm just not sure if he's going to crack that as a freshman, right? I think we can go about 4 or 5 deep there. So I'm not sure if he can crack that. Brewers Forever says, how do you feel about Mordecai? Love him. Well, it was interesting because I really wanted Brendan Armstrong because I wanted a veteran quarterback to come in here. But I love Mordecai. By the way, we have another, I don't want to announce it because I don't know if it'll happen or not, but I should have another really fun guest coming up that can really break down Tanner Mordecai even more. I like his film a lot. He's productive. He's crazy tough. We had the SMU beat writer on. I didn't know that Mordecai was like playing through broken ribs or cracked ribs at a point. He said his one of his best attributes is his toughness, right? So you're getting a super tough guy that was also incredibly productive in a system that Phil Longo is going to want to run that is also mobile. I mean, he just checks so many boxes. And I don't think he has he's not a true dual threat, but he checks so many boxes to give us a year of stability next year and let Nick Evers kind of just grow and let LaCrue grow and Miles Burkett grow. I love it. I think it's an absolute home run. Okay. Mike Witt also says, has Luke hired a strength and conditioning coach yet? Brady Collins is the guy. I don't know if it's actually been official, but he is absolutely the guy. Let's see. Let's keep going. Tim Olson says, love the aggressiveness by Fickell, following his Ohio State roots, not going to take a backseat to anyone. Yeah, that's a great point, Tim. Like, if you can point to maybe the best thing that you can almost get from coaching at a blue blood, like coaching at an Ohio State or coaching at a Georgia, you don't ever think you're taking a backseat to anyone. Like, at times, Wisconsin, and I think a lot of schools, I think Iowa's like this. I think a lot of schools act like they are in the backseat. And Fickell's, through his actions and through his words, and listen, Phil Longo echoed this, Tressel echoed this. They're not going to take a backseat. They don't think they need to. Now, it's the honeymoon phase. I've said this before. He is winning the honeymoon phase, but he's not taking a back seat. Like, he's not recruiting quarterbacks like he's okay being a second-tier Big Ten program. So, yeah, I think that's a really good point to him. He's going to bring some of that blue blood, helmet school aggressiveness to this, and I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, let's keep going here. So, also, by the way, some great names trying to guess the last defense line with the more than 7.5 sacks. We got Erasmus James, O'Brien Schofield. I loved O'Brien. OBS was incredible. Loved all those guys. 3rd round pick from the Cardinals. TM3389 says, another great live show. It's only great because people tune in. Again, everything we do here is reflective of the community we built. And the only reason it's been successful is because of y'all. So you guys are awesome and incredible. And that's what makes these live shows so much fun, quite frankly. Okay, let's come more comments here and we'll wrap it up. Goopstar Incorporated says, do you think losing the West next year is a disappointment? What do you think, y'all? Is losing the West next year a disappointment? I'm going to say yes. Because quite frankly, again, the West isn't that good. And we probably have the most established quarterback in the West right now. We have what still should be a pretty good defense. Young offensive line. Braylon Allen's a star. I have a lot of faith that Phil Longo can turn this around. So I'm going to say, yeah, if they don't win the West, I wouldn't have said, listen, if you had asked me this before Mordecai committed, I would have said no. But now that you have a star quarterback and you're playing in the West, yeah, you got to win the West. And just about every comment we get in here, Ben Albin says yes. Weapon X says yes. Fast Sleep says yes. Everybody's saying yes to this. And I agree. Now, I have said on the show previously that the last 2 years, I have taken the over on Wisconsin, and I've been woefully wrong because I am a fan at heart. I try to look at things as honestly as I can, but I have absolute Wisconsin bias. It is what it is. And I said I will never pick Wisconsin to take the over again until they prove me wrong. But they've done it this offseason. They proved me wrong. I didn't think they would fire Paul Chryst. I didn't think they would take a swing at a big-name coach. I didn't think that they would bring in a star quarterback. So they proved me wrong. And yeah, I'm taking the over again. I'm taking them to win the West, and I think they'll actually do it. Let's keep going here. A couple more good comments. Mike says DK and Skyler are going to be fun in this offense. Yes, I really do. I think Skyler particularly really impressed me. Like, he is explosive after the catch. He can get open. He's a really solid athlete. I think at times, if there's one foible that Skyler has, he can kind of alligator arm it in space. But I think he's a really solid athlete. And after the catch, and Phil Longo talked about this, put athletes in space. Skyler's the type of guy that can really do damage in space. So I think they're going to be great in this offense. Let's keep going. Jim Sainsbury says the same thing. I agree with you, Ryan. We should win the West. Jim, thank you so much for the comment. Mike Witt says, Allen, 1,400 yards, book it. I'm going to assume you're saying Braylon Allen and not Marcus Allen. Yeah, listen, let's talk about Braylon Allen really quick. Maybe wrap up on this. On this show, I'm a big Braylon Allen fan. Coming into this year, I was railing against people who had him behind Mo Ibrahim and some other people. He didn't have the year I expected. He was more indecisive. I think some of that was, I didn't love the fact he was being coached by a former offensive lineman. I don't think that helped him. And it's not to knock out Johnson. I don't think that was a great move by Paul Chryst to help him develop as a running back. But part of it is you saw some indecisiveness from Braylon Allen, the searching for a hole continually. Well, it's harder to find those seams and those creases when there's 19 people in the box. And obviously hyperbole, but he was constantly running into traffic and run blitzes. That's tough. Tough for a young running back who doesn't have a ton of experience with a coach that is also not experienced. What Braylon Allen is going to see in Phil Longo's offense is a defense that's spread out. He's going to see wider running lanes, less people in the box. I guarantee you next year is going to be more decisive. I guarantee it. I think he's going to have a monster year. Let's keep going. Let's see. Preston Brosner again says, yes, expectations are to win the West next year. I think that's the minimum expectation. I agree. Guptar Incorporated says, is Mertz getting playtime at Florida? We'll see. I don't think Mertz, I've said this before, I don't think Mertz got he didn't get a great shake at Wisconsin, right? Different coaches every year, different offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches. I mean, just zoom out for a little bit and look at the absurdity of what we gave him. And I don't want to make this into a Graham Mertz thing, but I will defend him on much of this for as long as I want to be on the soapbox. He was coached by a tight ends coach this year in Bobby Ingram. Like, that's not fair to him. It's not fair to Bobby Ingram. It wasn't fair to him. It wasn't fair to Bobby Ingram. The year before, Paul Chryst was doing it after taking like a break. You know, it's just, he's never been given a very good rep, or a very good shake, I should say. So it won't stun me if he got some playing time in Florida, because I think he still has a pretty good arm. I'm more of a Braylon Allen guy than most people. I'll say that. Let's see. Brian Shady says, barring catastrophic injury, it would be disappointing to not win the West. Jimmy Wildmore says the number of touchdowns I'm dreaming about is massive. I love it. Listen up. 35 passing touchdowns next year, 30. Why not? Like, I mean, why not? Let's keep it going. We're gonna wrap up here, y'all, because again, I'm always overwhelmed by the amount of people that tune into this, and it's really awesome. You guys are incredible, and we're gonna keep finding ways to try to support y'all and get you the best content out there, building this up. Join the Discord. If you're not a member of the Discord, join the Discord. I'll put guests that we have coming up in the Discord so you can ask questions before I get those guests on. It's a great way to connect to the community. And it's a great way to, if you have something going on in your life, we just made a new channel in the Discord where you can promote. If you have a podcast, if you have a business, again, it's all about building the community. So I highly suggest joining the Discord. Dan Blend said, we need a defensive tackle. That's a great place to end, because we do. We need another defense tackle. And I don't know if we're going to get one in the portal or not. I hope Jamel Howard in the 23 class hits. But yeah, a defensive tackle would be a big deal. For all the comments I didn't get to, I apologize. We're at about 30 minutes. I never try to keep y'all longer than that. I mean, certainly you can turn off if you want to, but I try to be respectful of y'all's time. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining on Wisconsin, a Locked On Badgers on Wisconsin. And we're going to talk to you again tomorrow. We have a show with a North Carolina guy talking more about Phil Longo and Bicknell. You'll see a Will McDonald interview drop tomorrow. Great kid. I had a lot of fun talking to him. Remember, Will McDonald walked on to this program. He had D1 offers from Kansas, Iowa State, lacrosse All-American. Go watch his film. He's fun. He might end up being kind of an impact guy at defensive end. So that will drop tomorrow. I think we have another prospect coming up on the show. So lots coming up, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. Really, really do appreciate y'all, and let's keep it going on Wisconsin.